Hello everyone and welcome to Training Tuesday for March 21st, 2023. We're revisiting Shepherd and he is working on moving to a stationary target. You may have seen this behavior in a previous episode. You'll notice in this episode that he does the behavior much more quickly. And when I say quickly, I don't mean he darts to the target. I just mean that he completes this behavior in less time than he completed it in the previous episode. And I am holding the target very steady, but I am at a right angle to it. So I am to Shepherd's left and the target is directly in front of him. And this time, instead of having someone film the behavior, I have a tripod set up. So that's one less distraction for him. And he tends to have a habit of always looking down when he gets closer to the target. I think, or I speculate, that that is probably because he realizes the food isn't coming directly from the target and that the food comes from me, the food comes from off to the side. And so he's thinking, well, I'm almost at the target. I'm going to go ahead and start looking for the food. But I absolutely have the food in a container behind my right side of my body. And so I'm waiting for him to interact with that target substantially before I grab the food with the tongs and deliver that to him. Next up, we have Kinsey. He's another Morelia Bredli. He's always been a very efficient targeter. He doesn't really hesitate to do the behavior. He's good at following the target, and he has just started to learn to shift out of his enclosure. This is Worf, another Morelia Bredli. You're seeing a theme here. All of the learners in this week's episode are Morelia Bredli except for one. And Worf got a little enthusiastic there, but it's no problem. That wasn't a substantial strike, so I just ignored it and went on with the behavior, and I wait for him to engage with the target without striking, and I deliver the reinforcement. This learner is Castiel, and my intent during this training session was to get him to shift out of his hide and onto that cardboard box. And he started out just great, but he just was not going to move his body onto the cardboard box, and I could see that. He kind of puts the brakes on here, but I'm giving it time. I'm letting him think about it. I'm moving the target to encourage him or prompt him to move closer to the cardboard box. But in a minute, he'll do a behavior that right there, when he backed off, I thought, no, I don't think he's going to go onto the box. So I decided to change my strategy and just ask him to shift over to his left or move his body over to his left to follow the target and show me that he would engage with the target, that wasn't the problem. It was just that he wasn't comfortable shifting onto the box, and that was fine. This is Sabine, and Sabine did well, but she had a little mishap when she failed to hold on to the shelf after she grabbed her food. And these Mag Naturals ledges, the Bredli love them, but they start to get too big for the shelves and they still try to rest on them. And in some of the enclosures, I actually try to put two shelves together, but she grabs the food and then she just topples off her shelf. So I just picked her up. And yes, she did fall all the way. Well, no, she didn't fall all the way to the ground. She fell onto the table that the enclosure below her sits on. And so I just picked her up and put her back in her enclosure. But when I picked her up, they have this natural instinct to anchor onto things with their tail while they're eating. And my arm is not a tree branch, Sabine. So I had to untwist her tail from my arm, which she was hanging onto while she was eating her food. And I got her safely back into her habitat with her food, and she ate. So no big deal there. This next learner is Kitesh. She is absolutely a stunningly beautiful Morelia Bredli, and she does get quite enthusiastic during some of our training sessions. She doesn't always strike at the target, but she did tonight. It was no problem. When she does that, I just wait for her to be calm and not strike at the target for a certain number of seconds, and then I deliver her reinforcement. Next up is our one non-Morelia Bredli during tonight's training sessions. This is Garazeb Aurelios. I just call him Zeb, and he's a Brisbane coastal carpet python that I got from Owen McIntyre. He's been with me about 5 months. He's an absolutely lovely animal, both temperament-wise and in his looks, and he's doing excellent at target training. 2 of our learners tonight did 2 repetitions, and that was Shepherd and Katesh, and this is Shepherd's second repetition during the same training session or the same night of training. And this time I have my husband Jim holding the camera for me, and I am holding the target. And I'm actually standing behind the target this time just because Jim was standing to Shepherd's left with the camera. And I felt like Shepherd was looking at me and he was looking to the left of the target kind of at an angle from my point of view. But now that I'm looking at the video, I definitely think he is engaged with the target. However, I waited for him to turn his head a little more to the right before I delivered the reinforcement. But I thought he did really well. This is Katesh's second repetition, and she's even more enthusiastic during this rep than she was during her first rep. Again, I am just going to ignore that little strike. It wasn't a big deal, and I'm going to wait for her to engage with the target fully and not strike at it. And this time I want her to actually touch the target, which she does, and I'm just about to reinforce her when she gives it a little bump. So I wait, and I think I counted to 10 in my head and made sure that she was just looking at the target and not striking before I go ahead and give her the food.